Did you ever see the film Revenge of the Clones?
Was that the one where Luke to the Ewok? Hello, I'm Chris.
And I'm Tom.
And you're watching That Review Show. Tom, what are we talking about today?
Star Wars Episode 7, A New Hope. So, Chris, what is Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens about?
Well, Tom, have you seen Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope?
Yes, twice.
Then you've seen...
You've seen this film?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I guess the thing is, though, although this does retell sort of the plot of A New Hope, all the beats are the same, that's only the backdrop.
Yes. Yeah, let's praise it first. I think our review's going to be spoiler-free. Towards the end we might discuss a couple of plot points that are a bit, not even, I wouldn't say spoilery, but if you want to be completely blank slate, we'll let you know. But yeah, let's praise it and say it was a fantastic return for Star Wars.
It's A New Hope.
It is A New Hope. Yeah, after the prequels, it kind of, you couldn't have got much worse.
No, and in fact I was viewing it always in context with the prequels going, thank goodness, oh thank goodness. So yeah, a lot to say that's very good about this film.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to hear you say that, because I know you were really against seeing it.
I was against even seeing it. I was so cynical by this point.
Whereas I was cynical but quietly optimistic, I kind of hoped. Just because it wasn't George Lucas and J.J. Abrams is a Star Wars fan. I know his treatment of Star Trek was not particularly conscientious towards Star Trek fans, but I guess that he jested for the money. But anyway, I think the characters were great.
I think the characters were wonderful. The new characters were what made this film a good thing. In fact, my mum texted me after I'd seen it and said, "How did you find the film?" And I just said, "I loved the characters." Yeah. Very important thing to get right, and that is what they got right. They made sure it was about character development or characters' interaction and setting up for a trilogy of films where we get to watch them and have adventures. Yeah,
which is why you can forgive some of the more niggly points about it basically being a soft reboot of New Hope.
Well, yeah, callbacks being the big thing I was worried about actually are a negligible problem here. I think it does have that Abrams, callback bollocks in it, but that's so minor and so sparing and so sprinkled that actually the stuff that shines through is the good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if you're judging this in terms of Star Wars films, it's as
good as Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, it's as good. I thought you were going to punch me. It's as good as the old films if you're looking at it objectively.
Yeah, objectively.
It's got some silly plot holes and some silly character-y bits and some bits of comedy that don't quite work.
In some ways it's not as simple. It suffers from modern cinema problem, which is like everything has to be crammed. The plot is rammed, but it's as good.
Yeah, so this is where kind of the positive and the negative crossover. So characters were great. I thought their relationship development was very good. Unlike Anakin and Obi-Wan in the prequels, where they talk about all the wonderful things that they did, or the terrible things they did that made them friends.
Nest of Gundarks.
Do you remember that time when we did things that made us be friends? You actually got to see it in this film.
Yeah.
And you very quickly saw how Finn and Rey's relationship developed, and it was believable. The only problem was...
there were points where I didn't feel so, but yeah.
I think the pacing, the first 45 minutes or so of the film is relentless.
Yeah, but it's crammed. Like I said, the whole plot is rammed with stuff.
Yeah, and that was good for their relationship development because you saw them going through lots of tense situations and creating a bond. But in terms of character development, they were more fleshed out than Anakin.
Oh, God, they were, yeah.
But it still was a bit like... Okay, he's the guy that did that and she's the guy that did this. And that was about it. However, I really look forward. They have set them up to develop further in the sequels.
Oh, well, indeed. And in fact, if we talk about that, set up to develop further, we're going to see tension between characters in future, lightsaber tension. And thank goodness, lightsabers are cool again. It's okay to like lightsaber fighting because it means something again.
Yes, one person fighting one person, no backflips.
Yeah,
no...
and the reason they're fighting is understandable and meaningful to the audience, instead of it just being every shot is so dense.
Yeah. The crossguard lightsaber annoyed me and didn't annoy me in equal measure. It annoyed me because it exists, and then it didn't annoy me because they didn't really use it at all. But then that also annoyed me a bit more because it was like, why
did you bother putting it there? Well, no, I'll say I actually really like the crossguard lightsaber. When I saw the trailers, that was the thing that made me go, why are you changing that? And then I watched the film and went, oh, I think that's a really cool sword, actually.
I really liked...
How did this happen to me?
I liked the blade. I liked the way it was, imperfect.
It reflected the character.
Yeah. And...
it gave it a sense of weight, which is original to how lightsabers are meant to have been.
Yeah. Mark Hamill complained in an interview about 10 years ago now that in the first film they wanted to do more interesting lightsaber fights, but Lucas was very, no, these are heavy, they're like swords, they're heavy.
They feel heavy, even though they're made of light. Yeah.
That then was abandoned in the prequels, which is why Mark Hamill was so annoyed.
This was his complaint, yeah.
But then, in this film, and it's so much cooler. Like Anakin and Obi-Wan, when they're whizzing them around at each other, just looks ridiculous. But Kylo Ren in this just poof.
Well, yeah, and even the characters who've never picked one up before type thing, using them, it looks heavy, it looks clumsy, and it looks great. It looks like people trying to kill each other and trying to stop the other one from killing them. Yeah, right, that's fencing.
Yeah, it was great.
Right. Okay, let's talk about some things that we didn't like.
Okay.
We talked sort of like how it's so crammed that does affect the pacing a little. There were a few redundant characters. Some of the humour was a bit wang. Like they made some attempts at humour that really angered me. In fact, some attempts at humour that I just felt were like lame. There's a few attempts at humour I noticed that the whole audience didn't seem to notice, and I worked out just afterwards like, oh, that was a joke. But then some bits of humour that really pay off. If they're used right. So I think some of those are callback humour though. That's the problem.
Yeah. So I thought generally the humour was fine to good. Some of it, but again, going back to the prequels, at least it wasn't C-3PO having his head pulled along the floor by R2-D2 and saying, "Oh, this is such a drag." Like it wasn't that kind of humour. That real crap.
Just stupid puns that are like
written by George Lucas.
Written by George Lucas. Yeah, I don't know. I think to link the humour and the callbacks, there were some moments. For instance, there is a character in this who says, "I have a bad feeling about this," and that's the kind of callback that it's allowed to do because it did it through all of the original trilogy anyway.
And it was in context
and worked. Whereas there are some callback moments, not to spoil anything of course, that to me were just, they were a bit of a slap in the face. It was like, oh no, and that was the thing I had been dreading. As I said, they're so sparing that they don't really get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were a few moments of sort of Jurassic World moments where it's just like, hey, do you remember that?
And fan service the movie.
And you're watching it and going, yeah, I remember it. It's in my brain. You don't need to show it to me.
Honestly, can we just talk about how much I hate Jurassic World for a moment?
No, because...
there was no product placement in this film.
No, that was good.
There you go. That's how much I hate Jurassic World.
No, when Finn's on Jakku, when he's looking for water, he does bang on a Pepsi machine, but it's empty.
I loved Finn all the time, just going, are there any blasters? Where are the blasters?
Yeah,
I'm fine flying the TIE Fighter as long as I'm on the blasters. Any blasters? I just need blasters.
Yeah, so
He loved guns.
Finn was a great character. You identified with him straight away, you empathised with him.
Ray was a great character. To talk about the performances, I think Boyega is brilliant to watch. I think the actress, sorry, I really don't know her name.
Daisy Ridley,
delivers lines in a less confident manner than him, but I think actually her character has dialogue that's written in a much more straightforward way. I know she had an English accent, but he had an American one for some reason because he's English anyway.
Yeah.
But maybe because it suited the character.
You can't have too many English heroes in an American film.
Yeah, right.
Especially when all of the villains in Star Wars tend to be English.
But just to talk about that, I suppose, her accent sounded more clipped, so it made some of the line delivery feel quite static in a way, but again, that's not a problem for me. She's a goodie.
She's just very terse.
Very terse, yeah. And I think some of our friends really complained about it and said, "Oh God, it sounded like she couldn't act." And I'm like, no, actually, I think it makes it harder to empathise with her because she's not doing an American accent. What is that?
Yeah, Boyega was just quite animated and American, whereas she was a lot more reserved and. Yeah, quite a clean-cut English accent, so she just felt a little deadpan, I guess, almost.
Yes, I suppose that's it. Again, not a problem. You're not going to dislike her performance, and I just want to see her do more things in Star Wars. She is a hero. I am so behind. I empathise with. I want to see win.
And let's go on to villains.
The villain is like such a good villain.
Loved Kylo Ren.
Yeah, do you know, when I first saw the mask and the costume, I thought, right, this is all the Knights of the Old Republic extended fan fiction Sith Lords I've ever seen. It's stupid, he's fetishistic, it will be a pale imitation of Darth Vader. Well, I was sort of right and sort of wrong in all the best ways possible. He's a fantastic villain, and I, again, can't wait to see him do more stuff. What about Poe Dameron, character number 4?
Yes, I liked him a lot.
The X-Wing pilot.
Yes, I thought he was good. He's kind of not quite Han Solo, because Han Solo started out as rugged and shooting first,
but also bullshitting it, which is what Finn is really.
Yeah,
you know, good with the gun and bullshits his way through everything.
Yes, whereas Poe Dameron was more. He was like the ace fighter pilot. He was the good guy. He was a definite good guy.
He's your Luke 20 years down the line if he'd never had the Force and just went in a fighter plane instead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's Wedge Antilles or...
Well, that's it, yeah, he's your Wedge Antilles, sorry. Yeah. There were some issues, though, with Poe Dameron's character in that he was too good and it made me want to play the X-Wing game.
Well, some of his dialogue as well. We've got to take out as many of these turrets as we can.
For the video game spin-off level. Yeah, there were moments where it was just like, this bit's for the video game, this bit's for the video game, this bit's for the video game.
And I think those are the bits that added to the packedness of the pacing. Because he said that as they're escaping the Star Destroyer, and then they took out 2 turrets, and then they escaped.
Yeah, whereas I can imagine the video game level, it's going to be like 50, and you'll be like... Yeah, but I still do want to play the X-Wing games because of how there's a moment in this film where, not from follow cam or anything, but you see his character in action in his plane, and it's just flipping awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about one more villain, and then we're going to go very, very, very mild spoilers. Nothing too bad, but this will kind of lead into it. So just to warn you, Domhnall Gleeson, I thought was fine except for his weird speech. He gives a very impassioned speech to the troops.
Oh, he's the Grand Moff Tarkin character.
Yeah, but Grand Moff Tarkin was, you may fire when ready.
You may fire when ready.
Whereas Domhnall Gleeson is more, we will end the reign of the... And you're like, they're on your side already.
But I get the impression they're a bit sort of like, imagine Hitler and his guys, like being the old Reich. These are the neo-Nazis. You've got Darth Vader as your SS agent, and the Emperor being Hitler. This is your third, Fourth Reich.
Just thought he was a little bit over the top.
I kind of liked that.
The Emperor character in this, not really shown that much.
It's not the Emperor as far as we can tell. There's a bigger baddie, put it that way.
Can I just talk quick? Disappointing CG for that character.
Why was it CG? That was going to be my question. Why is the bigger baddie all CG? Yes, Andy Serkis, great. Use him as an actor, not as a CG character.
Coming out of this film on the way home, I suddenly realised that amidst all, because obviously J.J. Abrams used lots of puppetry, but there was CG in there as well, and I suddenly had this moment of revelation of, Chewbacca was just a guy in a suit, and he looked absolutely fucking fine.
Yeah. In fact, did you notice how they trusted natural environments to be their set and didn't have to paint sand dunes red in CG or that shot with Natalie Portman falling out of the...
Let's go.
I'm thinking of Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clowns.
Attack of the Clones, yeah. It's fine.
Okay, right.
Sorry, so to carry on in my villains leading into spoilers, one very underused villain... Captain Phasma?
Right, this is the stormtrooper you'll have seen in silver. Happens to be female. Sorry, that is a spoiler if anyone cares.
I think everyone knows Gwendolyn Christie's a female.
I found it really weird though, because it's the only female baddie who has any sort of voice or part in the plot, and is wearing this distinctive suit. And I had this feeling like you might as well have made it pink.
Yeah.
I'll mark out the girl as the special one. I don't know, it annoyed me.
I think in Red Letter Media's review they talked about this, and I think they're quite right, that she was only in that outfit because they they had to use her later on in the film.
So you had to recognise who she was and why she had authority. Yeah.
But the publicity, then they made her quite prominent in the trailers, and they gave her a name.
And then suddenly toys everywhere, like all the merchandise has got pictures of her on. It's like she's not even in the film.
No. And then sort of going, again, not really spoilers, but sort of a bit deeper into it, the Empire's destroyed and the First Order has risen from the ashes, but the rebels are still there, but they're not called the rebels anymore.
They're the Republic.
No, the rebels were now called the Resistance, and they had the backing of the Republic because the Republic...
Didn't the rebels reform the Republic? That's why they toppled the Empire to reform the Republic, and then the Republic has a resistance against the First Order.
Yeah.
But surely it's just an army.
Yeah, it was weird.
Or a defence force. It would make more sense. Expeditionary force.
Yeah.
But resistance? That sounds like they're fighting the power, but they work for the power. Yeah, really dumb. In fact, even in the opening crawl, I was like, resistance? Why is there... Do they always have to be against adversity? Well, I know they're against adversity, but do they have to be the underdog? That's what it suggests. They're using a name to suggest underdog, but they're not.
No, I thought the First Order would be essentially the new rebels sort of thing. You know, they'd be the guerrilla fighters because the Empire had been destroyed. But, so that was just odd.
At any rate, you can see we have so much good to say about the film. All the stuff we've said that's bad doesn't actually matter, because the stuff that does is where this could go next. And it can go somewhere great, because the characters are so well set up and so interesting. We want to see more. And what is Star Wars about other than characters you really want to love?
Yeah. So, Tom, would you say that Star Wars The Force Awakens is worth the ticket price?
Yes, and thank goodness. Right, okay. If you'd asked me just before I went to see the film, I would have said to you, and I did say to our friends, I just want this over with. And afterwards I came out thinking, lightsabers, and bright lights, and good and evil, and soaring off to Dagobah. You know, I was back into the being in love with Star Wars, and I would not have expected that. Not an amazing film, really brilliant Star Wars film.
Yeah, see,
Go see it.
I think it was a great film. But as a Star Wars film, yeah, excellent. Not saying that Star Wars isn't great, but you know what I mean. They're not going to win any Oscars.
It at least stands toe to toe with the originals, or some you know, Return of the Jedi, which is good enough for me at this stage, considering
So yeah, I obviously would also agree that it's worth the ticket price. In fact, I've already booked tickets to go and see it again.
Oh, really?
I just enjoyed it that much, yeah. And part of that's just because I really enjoyed the film. Part of it's because I can go to the cinema and enjoy a Star Wars film for the first time in my life. Although we enjoyed Phantom Menace, but we were 13.
Yeah.
By the time Attack of the Clones came out, we hated Phantom Menace, and when we watched Attack of the Clones, we were both just face-palming the whole way through. Why did Yoda have a lightsaber?
Oh, yeah, that completely misunderstood his character. So you're going to see it again?
Yes.
Well, I, for one, in my love of it, instead of going to see it again, I've just started a homoerotic Finn and Kylo Ren fan fiction.
Cool.